Let's start this India energy debate on the curtailment of solar power. We have concerns, the industry has concerns, we have challenges. Of course, we have opportunities, and there are actions that definitely can be initiated and taken up so that if not fully, substantially this issue is addressed. In the last 1 month or so, this problem was known earlier, but in the last 1 month it has been highlighted very predominantly, and it triggered write-ups by many. I also wrote a paper on this subject, and this came as President's column in the last issue of Total Power. And we captioned it like that substantial curtailment of solar power, concerns, challenges, opportunities, and actions. And since then, this problem is further, problem is also aggravated, and in a big way it is being highlighted also. Only a couple of days back, there is a big write-up in the Times of India on behalf of DISCOMs, and not on behalf of DISCOMs, on behalf of solar power generators, and sort of being aggrieved against the DISCOMs that DISCOMs are not taking our power and we have to curtail in a big way our generation. And earlier in the month of last week of May, press report in number of newspapers came up on something like 80% curtailment in Rajasthan, curtailment in different places in the range of 40%, 50%, and that has come. And it is also reported that perhaps on behalf of the solar power generators, they have taken up, it is reported, I can't say confirmed news, but they have approached the Regulatory Commission, Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, for a number of things, but also compensation. That if we are not enabled or if we are prevented from generating, then our whole economics of investment and therefore payment of loan, return on equity, etc., are getting affected. Now, this is at a stage when we have solar capacity in the range of about 150 gigawatt or so, and we are trying 500 gigawatt to 2030, maybe 2031. So that is going to go up substantially. I do see some degree of, if not pessimism, some degree of a little bit of slowdown on many solar power producers, because they have started seeing the risk now. Of course, in that article, in a very subdued manner, not being critical about it, I have mentioned that any investors who is making investment in power generation, or for that matter, any other manufacturing process, to think that the market will allow or market will enable 100% of purchase, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in any industry. It has not happened in power industry as well. But what makes a bit of difference in case of solar particularly, that in all other cases, if you are not producing, then also you are saving the raw materials and other consumables. In here, the marginal cost later on is nothing. That means, to that extent, you are losing the opportunity of kilowatt hour, million kilowatt hour, or billion kilowatt hour, which could have come to the system free. So that is one strong case that is being made. But that is not to say that that answer to that is so easy. If the system needed that power. So we are looking at this problem in different ways. generators are looking at this problem in a manner that they expected 100% dispatch and they are not getting. It is for an intelligent conversation, arguments and discussion to what extent that has validity, to what extent that does not have validity. Should they have factored this in their investment decision? That whatever these power purchase agreement may say, but dispatch to the extent of 100% of capability may not be possible. There will be variations in load. It may not be only the buyers who may be to be blamed. In between you have transmission system, in between you have many other things. And transmission system, again, we will come to that point, is not to be blamed because they have their own story to mention as to why it is not happening in the manner it should happen. So this has become a factor now for India's program of 500 gigawatt and in future years even more. Does it give an occasion to think about it? What should be the pace of growth of solar? That is one thing that is there. Another point of view is that many countries have gone through this process and they live with that situation. Another viewpoint is the transmission planning should be so done that it is quite ahead of the solar capacity coming up. So in the process, this argument that if a power can come to the system practically free of variable cost, having made the investment, should it not be given a preference? Against that, what comes is that in a technically constrained thermal supply system, thermal power system, you do not have the flexibility to reduce at your wish, at your will, generation with reference to their capacity to a level which technically is not acceptable. So that is, these are difficult arguments to counter. Solar dispatch could be more if thermal power generation during daytime is reduced below 40%, below 30%. It is not possible to reduce below 50%. Some places I got an experiment done, went to the extent of 35, others experiment. But normal, it is not that. Unless in future technology you take care of that, and that is a direction one should be thinking about. So everybody has a plausible answer to the actions or inactions that they are indulging in. Plausible answer. You cannot totally say that your point of view is wrong. If thermal is not able to go below 65% of overall PLF as a whole of the capacity, and is not able to go below 45 or 50% of their level capacity in a specific power station. So they have a reason to say that, and it is not possible that it should be so frequently adjusted. Just now we were talking about nuclear, and therefore that's an eye-opener for the whole country, all the planner, and we will definitely raise that issue that we should not be having that type of an ideal expectation, however good, however ideal nuclear may be, however carbon-free power that may be, but to commit ourselves in the system management, in the power supply system management, that it will always have must-run condition, particularly when we are trying to do 100 gigawatt of capacity. Sometimes these appear that this type of statements come without, taking into account really what challenges it will place on us. So I think at this point of time, you have a challenge, and every player, if not fully, has a justifiable argument to make. They not reducing below, these people being asked to reduce, and they are losing in their. Now, one of the point of view has also emerged that they should have thought about it. They should have priced their power in a manner that they will be able to dispatch only 80% or 75%. Then in that case, this issue will not come if they get a little more. So when it comes to private sector getting into solar, they become very aggressive. 2 rupees 40 paise, 2 rupees 30 paise, and then finally, if the complete dispatches 100% does not happen, they feel aggrieved. So that is a challenge there. So one of the solutions which has quickly come, a point was just made, is battery energy storage system. It's like a ready-made container, comes with the 5 megawatt or 100 megawatt or 200 megawatt modular, and you can actually, Adani has done. I have gone and seen this. They have already reached to the level of 1100 megawatt hour, and very soon this year they will do something like 4000 megawatt hour. So it's going in a big way in that place. This issue is more pronounced in places like where concentration of solar capacity is there, like Khavda in case of Kacheria in Gujarat, and Jaisalmer in case of Rajasthan. But this issue will be relevant even in other places where the capacity of solar power is going to be more. So I mean, today we are debating this, what is the way out? And we will try to see that we don't take a view that I represent this or I represent that, and therefore it will be is a tough question. Transmission, so battery energy storage is a solution. According to me, battery energy solution is an interim solution, but this interim will continue till the time we keep growing the solar at a rate we are growing. Because to back up the growth in the manner we are trying to do with transmission, however best we try to do, will not happen. So let us assume that it is not possible perhaps. And particularly in the situation where we are placed and the experiences that we are facing with reference to ROW, the pre-construction processes, tariff-based competitive bidding, the license process, approval processes. So in my article, I have raised those issues that it is not that we should be giving up. There are factors which are controllable. Governmental process has to be on the same line as we did Ultra Mega project. Do everything ready. Shell company is made in PFC, but shell company is only for the purpose of shell company. It does not do preparation of the type that we did in case of Ultra Mega project. If we did that type of preparation, and which this challenge calls for, then possibly some time can be definitely reduced in the overall time cycle of conceptualizing to planning to putting it to bidding and to implementation, etc., etc. Similarly, we have to educate the whole country the need for not being so much resistant and so much aggressive against right-of-way challenges. They should cooperate, because if they don't cooperate, then it is going to affect the power system of the country. It has to go through, in one of the conferences I made the point, and Power Secretary was there, that this time has come where we should take it as a roadshow to educate district administration, state administration, state energy and forest environment and forest department, that they cooperate in the process. If the transmission is going to be delayed, it is going to be a huge affair. Coming to the battery energy storage system and pumped storage, a point was made by Mr. Verma. Battery energy storage is sort of, we should give less priority and more priority to pumped storage. Question is not our giving. Pumped storage, all said and done, from the time you think and to the time you will do it, it will take 4 years, 5 years. It is not typical hydro project, but somewhat. So it will take 4, 5 years. What do you do in the 4, 5 years? So therefore, this interim solution will continue an interim solution, and pumped storage will follow. When pumped storage comes, according to me also, that is the lasting and very preferable option to handle this situation. So certain degree of curtailment is inevitable. Future course of bidding, etc., people should take care. Why they did not take care while we were bidding earlier, I don't know, because risk factors have to be taken up by all the developers. Issue of compensation, regulatory commission has to decide to what extent it has merit in it. But actions can be that if battery energy storage is going to be, even for 15 years, it will continue to be interim solution. In that case, we should try to indigenize as fast and as best as possible. Today it is 100% import. How best we can, this gives an opportunity to improve quantity and quality of our manufacturing. So we should try to make it as soon as possible. That should be made as a condition of the production linked incentive that may happen. So these are some of the thoughts. This challenge is there, but I had requested Alok. Alok has done tremendous amount of work on all the issues, not only on this issue. Today he also heads an organization, a sort of NGO or consulting NGO, society. Yes, society. That DISCOM always felt that they are never represented properly. So because most of DISCOMs are under state, so, and they enjoyed that also, not being represented. So they enjoy. Once you raise question, then you become accountable also. Therefore, they enjoyed not being represented. Now, perhaps Alok has ignited them to be united and have this. So therefore, they have a solution and they have a challenge, both. They didn't have that challenge. Problem, put it to somebody, no problem, but now I think they will have to be answerable. So he has tremendous amount of work that he has done in the last few years. Of course, we have worked together for many years. When the crucial days of our approach, he came just after Electricity Act, but he was fully involved in all our policy, rules and policies, and including ultra mega policy, then came to Regulatory Commission as their secretary, then went to the state as energy secretary, and of course many other assignments in between. So he's the right man to be thinking about this subject. I have raised these issues and also hinted on some of the possibilities, some of the options that one should be thinking about. I have taken a view that the economics of solar power is so compelling that substantially reducing its growth will have to be evaluated very carefully. Now, taking that as a point, what else needs to be done and how the challenges that have come are eliminated or reduced, that is what we have to think. It is very easy to say, don't have solar so fast. Very good, then there is no problem. Transmission people will also take it easy, everybody will take it easy. So, though I have full sympathy for all the points and I have myself raised those issues, but yet the economics of this is so good, and I have partially tried to blame the developers also not to have had that foresight to understand these risk factors and factored in their commercial decision rather than raising this issue at this point of time. But yet I would definitely feel what the system should do, what the country should do, what the governance and regulatory mechanism should do to see how best this source of energy is harnessed and the rest of the points that are coming in the way are addressed. So with that I will request Alok, and then I will also, Mr. Jha has done a transmission seminar on this. Only recently Mr. Jha has done a transmission national conference. Some of these issues were discussed when Power Secretary was there. In the inaugural also some of those issues were discussed. So transmission is at the receiving end at this point of time, whether deservedly or undeservedly. But he is not going to take a transmission man point of view, because he has the advantage, Mr. Jha has the advantage of steering this very important national conference, and therefore on the basis of that conference we have sent a set of our suggestions to the government what we should do. So therefore definitely he has not taken a partial view of transmission, but a holistic view of what could be done and what need not be done. And Alok, of course, has the advantage of the entire running a distribution company, running a transmission company, being in Power Ministry and being in Regulatory Commission, and now representing DISCOM. So definitely here he is not coming as representative or chairman of the DISCOM company. He is coming that we have an issue. We have an issue, we have a challenge, and as I said that giving up that slow down solar would be the last resort. Subject to that, what else we need to do so that we go through this process. Thank you. Alok.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Shai Saab and Das Saab and all other senior colleagues, thank you for inviting me. The solar is both a success and a challenge for India. Because I can thank you. Solar is both a success, a promise, and a challenge for India. Because all the modelings which have been done by Niti Aayog, what other bodies, they show that solar will dominate our generation mix in medium to long term. So it has started already dominating. What I see in nutshell, it's the problem of curtailments and the reaction and concern about is, say, it's something like gap between the promise and plan. What we had promised to the generators, the solar developers, and how much did we plan, there has been gap, and that is causing this anxiety, concerns, and reality. Another thing is that this 500 gigawatt target was a top-down target. It was announced in COP26, and then everybody asked to look at it and do it whatever way we want to handle it. So system did react, but not react appropriately and sufficiently. That's what is happening. At the same time, the curtailments are being made a big issue, though they are not so big issue. It may sound really. The data is 470 million units in 3 months. If you see, India consumes around 125 billion units every month, and in 3 months you are around 500 billion units, and it is not even half a billion unit in 3 months. So curtailments are, I think, they should get attention, but I think larger attention, undue attention. And curtailments, if you talk of China and all, every country has faced, when you have journey of renewables, you will face curtailments, and you need to have some curtailments. If you are asking for zero curtailment, it has a cost. Either you build a lot of transmission lines and a lot of storage, or you pay for that. It's a cost. What has happened, I think there are two major reasons the curtailments behind. The timelines which were promised by SECI in their tendering were very perfunctorily agreed to by CTU without looking at the ground reality, how much time it is taking to plan and construct a transmission line, and what is being promised to the bidders in SECI tenders and their data. So we are doing a study with the help of PFI and IIM Ahmedabad. The one key recommendation emerging is that there was no seriousness in committing the transmission connectivity timelines to developers at the point of CTU when they were doing whatever NCT was doing in CA, PFC was doing, something was being done very differently, and but something very different was being promised. So there has been a mismatch. It's bound to be there because transmission lines, they do take time. Now there is some correction. The CA has come out with more realistic timelines. They have notified and they have said that whatever you plan, you want to do solar, more solar, more solar, or less solar, or do, but I need this time to build my transmission line. So please not slow down, but please calibrate. Please calibrate your pace, otherwise don't blame us. The second bigger issue is the lack of net demand in the system. So I think some curtailment largely has happened because of transmission delays, and some was being evacuated through TGNA, and there are some curtailments. But there is a now bigger problem, which in my view, which will get bigger and bigger every year, is the lack of growth of net demand in the system vis-a-vis the solar additions. So if you see the peak demand, which is headlines, and which comes for few hours in a year, has grown at only say 10 to 11 gigawatt per year. If you see the 271 gigawatt, and 2 years ago it was only 250. So, and it came only for few hours. And if you are adamant on adding 50 gigawatt of solar every year, you are bound to have curtailments. There is no way, because system will collapse. It cannot, unless until you big mega batteries, oblivious of the cost, you store everything to supply in the evening. There is huge cost of transmission and storage. So what we did not do properly was the seriousness in giving the timelines to the developers, and secondly, we did not do much work on the creating more net demand in the system in solar hours. And I believe in the one end we have done some corrections, that now there is a realism in transmission lines construction time, which is being now committed by CA, and which will bring some moderation and some sobriety, some soberness in the whole tendering timelines. But I still afraid that not much is being done on creation of more net demand in solar hours. Touching upon little about the cost aspect, like somebody is saying build super transmission highway like China has made for equator of solar. That is a cost. That is a cost. And where will you take that energy? The system is not ready to absorb. So this whole demand of the big super transmission highways, I don't support. I say what is more cost effective, maybe the solar rooftops or PM Kusum is more cost effective, or systems embedded in distribution systems or in the state systems are better, rather than everything evacuating like HVDC from Khavda or from Rajasthan. It is not going to be cost effective. It is not affordable for Indian electricity consumers. Storage costs are not so affordable. There was a tender by Uttar Pradesh 2 months ago. They asked for 4-hour peaking supply through renewable energy. With the Government of India VGF, the discovered price was 6 rupees 45 paise. And so how much VGF can you give? The ministry's power program of VGF battery is limited. If you don't give VGF, this cost will cross 7 rupees 50 paise or something. You can buy that energy in power exchange at average price of 6.5 rupees. So to my mind, storage beyond a point has a huge cost, because if you are building a battery to build that only for curtailment in few days in a year, your battery idling cost for remaining year will be remaining part of the year will be very high. So this is not the battery storage for 50 gigawatt solar, whatever it may come, is not a solution. There are also the cheaper coal generation costs. To absorb a solar power, generated power of 2 rupees 50 paise and to transmit it, you back down a coal pithead power station which is generating at a variable cost of 1 rupees 20 paise is not wise. It is not in the direction of affordability. So we have to see that solar power is what it is leading to. Should it replace 1 rupees 50 paise coal-based power generation or supercritical units? I believe not. So there is a need to have rethink and recalibration. The balancing costs in India are also very high. If you see, apart from batteries, the wind power generation is a smaller component of the Secretary Manari will bear me out. Wind power, India's wind resource is not very good, and India's solar lobby or solar development has I think hijacked the whole government attention. Though solar is a pain now, but we are giving all subsidy to more solar, whereas we should give more attention to the wind power projects, because they are a part of solution, not part of problem. We are giving subsidies to a part of problem. I think we need to balance our approach in government design of programs. We need to support more to wind and hydro, which are like angels. They give you power in the peaking hours. So coming to electrification, China is 29% of energy is used in form of electricity, final consumption. South Africa, it's 27%. India is around 21%. And our program of electric mobility is always seen as a doubt. There are talks of flex fuels or hybrid vehicles and all. What I'm trying to say is, India is not very serious about electrification of its mobility or cooking or industrialization. We are going back and forth. And if you don't do that, then you can't absorb more solar power. If you can't increase your demand, because you are pushing rooftop solar in the distribution companies, that is bringing down your net demand of the grid. And when the net demand is not rising enough and you are pushing more solar, the system operator has nothing to do. The task, it says please back down. the DISCOM are paying for that, even though energy is not coming, but developers are getting paid because they are scheduled. In TRAS, what is happening, TRAS, system operator asks them to not to generate, but they are scheduled. So DISCOMs still end up paying. So I feel there has to be more focus on creating more demand in solar hours, also shifting demand from the non-solar to solar peak. And one of the major interventions which are planned is smart metering. Smart metering is a must for the time of day tariff and also for demand response program. World over, I think you see, whether it is virtual power plant, whether it is all demand response, whether it is time of day tariff, it requires a smart metering. And because of the lack of consumer engagement, the Ministry of Power has been going back and forth in the pushing the smart metering rollout. We are at now 7 crore smart meters, whether we have sanctioned 22 crore smart meters. So the point I am trying to make is that if you want to absorb more solar power, you have to work in other areas of smart metering, of time of day tariff, demand response, electrification. Those things we are not doing. We are just saying, you just don't curtail solar and let me generate 50 gigawatt every year more additional power. Net demand is increased only 10, 12 gigawatt. So my prediction is that if we don't put our act together, you will see much heavier, much longer curtailments next year. So we have to be very serious on these fronts. And there are two more things. If you still want to push higher solar because solar is cheaper, in fact it is not, then government should prepare to give VGF to the rise in system cost because of higher storage costs and higher transmission costs. Who will pay for that? You see the day-to-day politics, and it is right that India's consumers, at the per capita income they have, the tariff cannot be raised in every year by 10%, 20% just to absorb solar, because you have to set up batteries and you have built whole costly HVDC lines from Khavda and from Jaisalmer. That is not the solution. If you don't raise tariffs, your discounts will go down and down, because states don't have the budget capacity to pay the subsidies. And can you afford, even sicker or even financially weaker discoms? Who will send the PPAs? And what value that PPAs will create? So the solution again lies, either you have the pockets, deep pockets to give VGF to absorb that higher system cost, or again I'll say you calibrate your solar additions. So solution is very clear. You do work on the smart metering, do on electrification, and either you are more GF you give. But if you don't have budget to give VGF, you can't push 500 gigawatt from top. It's a top-down target. If you see the ground reality, no state is willing to raise tariffs just to that your solar is to be absorbed and you create battery capacity. It's not going to work. Last point before I close my intervention is the market alignment. Don't promise solar generators that everything will be absorbed, we must run. Let them work through the contract for difference or VPPAs. They face the market dispatch risk, and if they feel curtailment is going to come, let them set up batteries and store batteries in their projects. They cannot keep on doing plain vanilla solar and all the battery costs, the discoms. It is not sustainable. Let them set up a battery, let them price their product appropriately and sell them in the market in the evening. Unless until we do these things, my prediction is, I'm a firm conviction, we will see much deeper, much longer, much serious curtailments next year. Let us try to put our heads together. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Alok. Very clear. Discom people should be happy. No, that's okay. And discom, if discoms are not happy, then also supply will be in problem. That is true. That is true.
Discom should not be unhappy.
Should not be made unhappy. Should not be made unhappy. So now let's hear, I made my point, then I will again come back. Let's hear from Mr. I.S. Jha. Those of you who do not know him, most of you may be knowing, he was chairman of the Power Grid Corporation of India. He used to be with NTPC earlier when transmission was a part of NTPC. then he became Parge. Then he was also in Central Electricity Regulatory Commission as a member, but for some time he was also working as acting chairperson of the Regulatory Commission. He heads our transmission vertical. As I said, recently we did a national conference on transmission issues. It was very successful. At this point of time, transmission is in the forefront of the challenge. For solar to survive, or solar to have a growth which the country is planning. And now Alok made some issue about whether planning should be as optimistic as it is, or it should be regulated, it should be little calibrated planning of growth. But then for that, out of many other challenges, the biggest challenge is today as assessed and as perceived and as reported, and in reality it is so, is the inadequacy of transmission in many areas, which is holding the full capacity utilization in many of the large solar plants, and steps are being taken to see how best this gap is reduced. So I think that Mr. Jha will elaborate on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Since I have been in power transmission company and the CRC always on the receiving side. Sir, lot of things have been told. I will speak only about the power system planning perspective, especially transmission. So first issue is whether renewable energy mix evolving as originally envisaged. So when 500, there is no question, sir. I have a question. Yeah. Okay. Sir, when the 500 gigawatt was thought of, it has come from top down, but still there was a planning was near about 200 to 300 gigawatt will be solar. Out of this 200 to 300 gigawatt, 200 to 220 will be the utility connected, grid connected, and 60-70 gigawatt will be the rooftop. There is a balance of the then transmission. Then wind will be near about 140 to 150, 160 was there. Our balance is small. But what actually we are getting it, which is affecting the planning. In March 2020, our scenario was solar was about 35 gigawatt. Our wind capacity was about 38 gigawatt. Wind was more than the 35. Our grid was very comfortable. In March 26, solar has increased to 150 gigawatt. There is an increase of 4 times, 115 gigawatt added. Wind has increased to only 56 gigawatt, only 18 gigawatt added. And what is happening, sir? Every grid has the limited capacity. So far it has absorbed. Even curtailment is very small level. Now the time, this is, I think, sir, this seminar I should go, this is the right time to review the planning itself, how to go about. Sir, I have seen the data also, even last year, so we are very proud that in 1 year, we have installed 57 gigawatt renewable energy. But in this 57 gigawatt, 38 to 40 gigawatt of solar, 5 gigawatt was the wind. This all resulted is very sharp generation peak between 10:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. All the curtailment, what you are saying, is between these three. Now question is, for these 3-4 hours, whether we should add transmission, which is long distance HVDC, or should you add battery? That is the problem. At that day, sir, I am giving some new solution. At that day, our Secretary Power was saying, for 6,000 megawatt, the proposal of transmission is 20,000 crore. Means 4 crore per megawatt is coming near for transmission. What we suggest, sir, drop the 50% transmission and put the battery at the cost. Same cost. Reduce the transmission means if 6,000 megawatt, if 22,000 megawatt you brought the battery there at the cost of transmission. then we have to bring the transmission of 50% cost with more utilization. I will give later on how the economical benefit. That's why, sir, if wind is that in transmission seminar, it has come up very well that we have to be little bit balanced. Wind, solar, etc. Even every pooling station, that was the hard request. Every pooling station should be optimal resource, so that at least transmission system should be utilized for 10 to 12 hours. A transmission quantity will be reduced hardly, very fast. So that's why, sir, if this type of thing will not stop now, so far it is good. We are wanted to achieve the renewable, etc. That's very good. But now we have the time to see how geographically or how good generation we can make it. Because this need the larger transmission system, larger requirement of storage as system and flexibility, all they need, because if this skewed type of generation mix will be there. Second issue was discussed at that there's a better coordination between generation and transmission. So we all know that transmission takes 3 to 4 years, but if you make the transmission at Khavda, which is 2,000 kilometers away, it takes 4 to 5 years. And so transmission has to plan before. And that started plan, but that is the half solution. But who will ensure that I have planned the transmission at Khavda, next generation will come in Khavda? That is not being ensured. As a result, there is a complete extreme situation in Khavda as on date, because which is the latest zone was there, where we are facing the 6,000 to 7,000 megawatt curtailment because they are not able to plan or schedule it. At the same time, in Kopal, Anantapur, Karnool, we have the 10,000 megawatt transmission capacity unutilized because generation has not come. They are not talking that because their land has become costly. People have shifted to, because generation comes as per their convenience. Where land is there, where government is supporting, they go there. Transmission has come already. You have decided in advance. That's why this coordination is required, because as on date, MNRE and MOP coordination since beginning. Still SECI give the tender, not saying that this is the tender for installing the generation at Kopal. They give the tender anywhere in India. So you cannot plan the transmission if transmission is planned. Third issue, sir, that's a very important issue, sir, the waiver scheme. Transmission waiver scheme, sir, it was started in 2015-16 because at that time most of the generation was, solar generation was coming in the state grid. To promote the more faster growth of renewable energy, the use of the existing ISTS, they are given that this will be waiver. It has gone well, and I can say that because of waiver transmission policy, the developer was incentivized, and they have chosen the place where the land was available, land was economical, and solar radiation was highest. As a result, cost of the project has gone down. And that was the beauty of the waiver. But at the same time, the whole cost has gone to the DISCOM. There is no subsidy from the government side. It was distributed by among the other. So what is happening, sir? Because of this waiver system, one fallback has come. That's what we have to see. Concentration of very large renewable capacity in a pure energy. Because of the, sir, earlier I was saying the Maharashtra generation was coming. Once waiver has come, they all have shifted to Rajasthan. Because transmission तो free है, हम आएंगे वहाँ से क्यों महाराष्ट्र को रखेंगे? कहाँ इस तरह के प्रोजेक्ट आने लगे. Increasing dependence on the long distance, सारा ट्रांसमिशन पर ही सारा वजन आ गया. अगर आप सोचिए सर कुछ सिस्टम महाराष्ट्र होता, कुछ यहाँ होता, तो ट्रांसमिशन का 50% स्टेट्स आता, 50% ट्रांसमिशन. That's the transmission has grown up. Of course, greater congestion during peak and generation, solar generation. और सर एक और चीज़ बताता हूँ सर, अभी 3 महीने का ये पीक हो रहा है. इवन PMO का पेपर आया जिसमें लिखा 746 gigawatt was curtailed during the May 26. They have got 24 gigawatt hour Every day it is happening. That was the paper from the economic advisor. Sir, what happened? This now waiver scheme is going phased out. So gradually, the critical date is 30th June 25, 30th June 26, 30th June 20. मीन्स 30 जून 25 को अगर कोई कमीशन कर देता है उसको 100% वेवर फॉर 25 ईयर्स. उनको एक साल ग्रेस दिया गया. अगर ट्रांसमिशन लेट है, यू कम विद द 30th June 26, यू विल गेट इट. सिमिलरली द प्रोजेक्ट विच कमीशन इन 30th June, दे विल गेट 75% ट्रांसमिशन वेवर फॉर 25 ईयर्स. दिस वॉज सच इम्पैक्ट. एज ए रिजल्ट देयर इज ए जनरेशन होड़ लगी. और मैं बताऊं सर, मई जून में एक महीना के अंदर 4000 मेगावाट कमीशन हुआ है, जहां ट्रांसमिशन था भी नहीं. TGNA पर माने वहाँ सब स्टेशन था, उसमें सर 1100 मेगावाट बिफोर SUD. तो कर्टिल तो होना है जब प्लान के भाई. ऑफकोर्स दे ऑल हेल्प अस इन मेकिंग द टारगेट. लेकिन दिस इज ऑल्सो द फैक्ट कि अगर लोग थोड़ा मेहनत करके अगर आ जाते हैं तो 25 साल का ट्रांसमिशन फायदा होगा. क्यों नहीं करेंगे? इवन कि एक ट्रांसमिशन स्कीम खावड़ा में जिसे 2031 में दिया गया है स्टार्ट डेट, क्योंकि उसका लिंकिंग है HVDC से, वो भी कमीशन हो गया सर. तो दिस आर ऑल्सो द फैक्ट सर फॉर कमिट. सर दैट्स व्हाई द लोकेशनल सिग्नल नाउ टाइम इज with the MRI, we should see little bit more control on the generation planning. Sir, एक last issue है sir, impact on transmission, because what is happening sir, transmission is always, of course, transmission is always receiving sir, because generation is not get evacuated. Transmission is meant for evacuation. लेकिन because of the location etc, it is there because of waiver. Sir, as on date, transmission cost is going up like anything because of the long distance. As a result, sir, in as on date, annual transmission charge which will be shared among the DISCOM is 46,500 crore. जब मैं छोड़ा था सर 2019 में it was 20,000 crore. Today it has become 46,500 crore. And CRC has done one calculation which they have sent in writing to ministry. The transmission, based on the transmission plan and given in the website, they have done the calculation. By 2030, this annual charge has become the 1,10,000 crore annually.
What was it?
2030, 19 में 22 तो आता है. थोड़ा मेमोरी ऐसा था सर मुझे.
1,10,000 crore.
1,10,000 crore.
For how much?
तो मैं आता हूँ सर. और जो भी है तो एनुअल पूल है. दिस इज एनुअल पूल सर. एंड सर अगर डिमांड GNA ज़्यादा नहीं बढ़ा तो उसी टैरिफ बढ़ेगा सर. और एज सर आई हैव डन द कैलकुलेशन कि दिस विल रिजर्व, अगर देयर इज नो वेवर, सभी को बराबर लोड किया तो 4.2 लाख पर मेगावाट पर मंथ ट्रांसमिशन चार्जेस. अगर मान लीजिए सर 6,000 GNA है इनका दिल्ली का, तो 6,000 इंटू 4.2 तो करीब 2,000 करोड़ पर एनुअल लगेगा. 2,000 का सॉरी एनुअल तो ज़्यादा, 2,000 करोड़ पर मंथ लगेगा ट्रांसमिशन चार्ज. अब फिर टैरिफ उसी से निकाल लेंगे सब. तो और इफ वेवर वी एड इट तो burden to the DISCOM will go 2 to 3 lakh more on that. So that's why the transmission cost is going hugely, sir. DISCOM, because that's why, sir, once we are seeing that generation at Khavda is becoming so cheap, we must add the transmission cost impact, must add the storage facility, etc. Then only it can. This is the small thing, sir. This is we are saying, so we are really proud. We are not saying that everything gone wrong. It has gone because starting में कौन देखता है. जैसे रिन्यूअल में मैं थोड़ा कंट्रोल फीचर से भागता हूँ क्योंकि अभी आने तो दीजिए पहले उसका कंट्रोल. सिमिलरली बैटरी में PSP में देयर इज नो कंपटीशन सर. अभी एज ऑन डेट वी आर कम्प्लीटली नथिंग. तो PSCS हैज़ टू कम, PSP हैज़ टू कम. एक बार 50% लेवल आ गया. नौ जनरेशन में 50% लेवल में हम आ गए. देयर इज बिकॉज ऑफ द गुड दिस प्लेटफॉर्म वी आर यूजिंग इट. लेट अस रेज एट द टॉप लेवल कि जनरेशन ट्रांसमिशन एक साथ बैठे तो क्या करना है। थैंक यू सर।
ऐसा वो डिमांड ही नहीं हो तो आप ट्रांसमिशन बना लो तो क्या होगा?
सर देखिए सर, मैं देखता हूँ रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी इज द सब्स्टिट्यूशन। सेम पावर को हमको थर्मल है उससे मीट करना है, अब दिन में अगर फ्री का कोई पावर है, अगर ट्रांसमिशन ज़्यादा नहीं जाता उसको सब्स्टिट्यूट करना है। इट इज सपोर्ट, इट इज नॉट, रिन्यूएबल पावर इज नॉट फॉर द एडिशनल डिमांड, इट इज द सब्स्टिट्यूशनल डिमांड। हाँ, थर्मल जो पावर प्लान हुआ है सर, आई डोंट नो 19,000 मेगावाट, that will change the shape.
I only want to contribute one small point with the permission of Sai साहब। रिन्यूएबल पावर अगर सब्स्टिट्यूट करेगा ना तो स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट बढ़ती है, वो उसको भी ध्यान में रखिए।
नहीं वो तो है आपका,
आपका प्लांट की स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्ट जो है, मतलब रैंपिंग कॉस्ट बढ़ती है।
you are 100%, लेकिन सर थिंकिंग दैट अब नाउ टुडे वी आर नॉट कमिट वाई 500, मुझे तो लगता है सर एज ऑन डेट अभी 6 महीना पहले तो सब चीज़ ठीक ही था सर, एवरी वाज गोइंग, इवन पीक टाइम में भी हम शॉर्टेज थे, दिन में भी शॉर्टेज थे, रात में शॉर्टेज थे। तो ये कुछ दिनों की बात हुई है, तो डिमांड को हाँ थोड़ा सा रिड्यूस करना देखा जाएगा। लेकिन साहब देखिए सर 500 में माँ तुमको डिमांड 250 को लाने दीजिए सर, 200 को, बाकी विंड से कंपल्सन कीजिए ना। अब केवल 16 ला देंगे तो पीक टाइम हो जाता है ना सर। नहीं आप ही से पूछ लिया, आप ही के आज की से पूछ लिया।
Now, how far is the justified the transmission waiver, which we have gone into this? We are unnecessarily increasing the cost of the other power.
क्योंकि आप सब फेज आउट में है, लेकिन ओनली वन थिंग व्हाट इज हैपनिंग सर, एट दैट टाइम 100% था कि 30 जून 2025 तक जो कर लिए उसको 100% मिलेगा, 30 जून 26 से 75% लाइक दैट। लेकिन व्हाट हैपेंड subsequently the rule has come, if generation had delayed because of transmission or force majeure, then we can extend it. At that time it was stayed up to 30th June. Now again they are considering to extend it. So ये तो कभी खत्म ही नहीं होगा। Similarly sir, hydrogen mix etc. everything 2020 34 तक। I don't know how to DISCOM will sustain all this.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
you heard 3 points of view, and now let's have some queries, comments.
सर झा साहब कुछ छोटा सा सवाल है, आपके पास इतनी सारी ERS हैं,
क्या करेंगे यार इसको लेके?
अरे भाई खावड़ा में लगा के वहाँ से पावर निकालिए।
ERS को परमानेंट यूज कैसे कर लेंगे सर?
बहुत सारी हैं।
पर बहुत सारे HVDC सब लग रही, बहुत बड़ी लग रही है।
But the maximum curtailment was on Rajasthan, 80%, Jaisalmer.
Yes,
What was reported in the last week of May, and I covered in my article, that was Jaisalmer,
yes.
maximum curtailment. The Rajasthan also demand is not there, and Jaisalmer. Now the point is that you have these power, like you used to have super thermal power stations of NTPC, Singrauli, Korva, Ramagundam, Farakka, the initial ones. But they are generation centers, not load centers. So I have used that argument even in that article. Today the volume has, the size has increased. But this issue was very relevant even then, during early 80s, that you have coal reserves in pockets and you have to take power to far off places. Like Talcher power was taken to Kolar, HVDC, Kolar in Karnataka, and from Karnataka it goes to Tamil Nadu, it Karnataka, Andhra and all that. So I think the natural resources are resources, and here in this case land is a resource, therefore Khavra and Jaisalmer became easy. So there cannot be a counterpoint of view that you have to carry this power for longer distances, because India's power sector development from nothing almost. India's power sector was zero in end 70s almost. And from there, even at the end of the century, we were only less than 1 lakh megawatt. Less than 1 lakh. When I joined the ministry, it was 97,000 megawatt. 98,000 megawatt. So it has increased. naturally everything has increased in size and volume. That resources and facilitations would be available in certain central points, and the deliverables will have to be carried to longer distances. That is on road transportation, on ship transportation, on power transportation. That was earlier also. Today what has made a big difference is the gestation period of solar is so short and gestation period of transmission is so long. Apart from the cost you can decide. But the gestation period is... No, utilization, so you see, that is another point of view. According to me, with all this criticism, we have hardly, we have hardly crossed 1500 kilowatt hour. 1500, 1600 kilowatt hour per head per year consumption. And yesterday only I was discussing, day before yesterday I was discussing with Chairman CA. They have further slowed down. By 2047 they want to have only 4,000.
I criticize that.
In my article I said we should at least try to be, shouldn't be ashamed of this difference between China and here. At least we should try to have India at par with China even in 2050. So in all my articles that is going into the book, we have tried to argue that at least we should try around 7,000. That means that would mean around, let's say, 4 to 5 times of what you are today. So therefore, the volume of production will increase, and what would be the complexion of, or what is the profile of production? How much solar, how much wind, how much hydro, how much nuclear, how much coal, and battery. Battery, of course. Battery will not, you will not say is an additional generation. Battery is taking power, preserving, it is a store. Shifting, that is consumption. On the supply side, battery is not giving you additional generation. All that you are doing is
shifting the time, sir.
Shifting the transmission you are shifting.
Surplus है sir.
Yeah.
वो हम शाम में supply.
So the issue is that we are faced with a challenge, and the challenge is, I have done that analysis also, and it is now projected to higher levels, that quite a bit of this delay in transmission is also man-made. Why CERC should be sitting on license for 1 year?
Sir,
Whether firstly it need not go there actually. It's like coal. In coal everything is done, bidding is done, everything done, and coal ministry and state ministry is sitting on giving the permission. Yeah.
जो fruitful नहीं है उसको तो वहाँ से license हटा देना चाहिए.
Okay, let's get some question from. Let's hear others.
सर इसमें हम चाइना का एग्जांपल ले रहे हैं. चाइना क्या कर रहा है, जहां पर भी आरई पार्क्स बना रहा है वो साथ में सीएसपी प्लान कर रहा है 1000 मेगावाट के लिए 200 मेगावाट सीएसपी विद 16 आवर स्टोरेज और 15 आवर डिपेंडिंग ऑन द लोकेशन, प्लस हीट कंज्यूमिंग इंडस्ट्री साथ में लगा रहा है. ट्रांसमिशन का जो बॉटलनेक है वो बेसिकली कॉस्ट को ऑप्टिमाइज करना है. जहां मैंने हीट पहले यूज करनी है, बाद में पहले मैं पोल्यूशन करूँ, कोयला जलाऊँ या कुछ और जलाऊँ, कुछ और चीज़ों से लाऊँ उस बायोमास को या किसी भी चीज़ को, फिर हीट जनरेट करूँ या इलेक्ट्रिसिटी से करूँ, तो 70% तो मैं एफिशिएंसी वैसे ही ख़त्म कर दे रहा हूँ और ट्रांसमिशन पे एक्स्ट्रा लोड डाल रहा हूँ. अच्छा, अब खावड़ा का एग्जाम्पल है. खावड़ा इज़ अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग DNI लोकेशन. वहाँ पर अगर हम CSP लगाएंगे, ट्रांसमिशन तो हमारा फ्री है, 15% लोडेड है, बैलेंस 85% टाइम मैं उसको CSP प्लस थर्मल स्टोरेज से उसी ट्रांसमिशन से बिना एडिशनल ट्रांसमिशन के बेटर यूज कर सकता हूँ. देन हाइड्रोजन की डिमांड आ रही है, लोकल हाइड्रोजन प्रोडक्शन. हमारा कंट्री सारी की सारी, अगर आप टॉप 100 सिटीज वर्ल्ड की देखेंगे तो 95 सिटीज हमारी ही टॉप मोस्ट पोल्यूटेड है. वो कहाँ से आ रहा है? 70% पोल्यूशन इज कमिंग फ्रॉम कोल बेस्ड कंबस्शन. तो एक तरफ तो हम एक गीगावाट सोलर लगाते हैं, फिर कहते हैं कि 1 गीगावाट कोल भी लगा दो, फिर कहते हैं कि इसका ट्रांसमिशन के लिए उसके लिए अलग लाइन, इसके लिए अलग लाइन, फिर ले आते हैं कि 1 गीगावाट बैटरी भी लगा दो. और कॉस्ट किसकी? अभी तो कोल के साथ भी बैटरी लगाने लग गए हैं कि उसको भी लगा दो. कॉस्ट किस पे जा रही है, और बेसिक हमारा एम क्या है सब कुछ करने का, बेसिक पॉलिसी में क्या लिख रहा है, कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव पावर। तो कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव तो सीएसपी से ही हो जाएगी। अभी यूपी इसने दिया है यूपी डिस्कॉम को 5 रुपीज पर यूनिट पे 4.73 पर यूनिट पे एक सीएसपी का अवार्ड किया। तो जहां पे मैं बिजली प्रोड्यूस कर रहा हूँ रिन्यूएबल 100% मेक इन इंडिया विदाउट एनी वीजीएफ, विदाउट एनी पीएलआई, विदाउट एनीथिंग, उसको मैं अभी छोड़ दे रहा हूँ। जैसे कहते हैं ना बगल में छोरा गांव में ढिंडोरा, तो अभी तो उसको अभी के लिए छोड़ दिया। बाद में हम कोई और चीज ढूंढते हैं, बैटरी ले आए, पीएसपी ले आए, सब कुछ ले आए, लेकिन लास्ट में जब 60% 50% हमारा वेरिएबल आरई घुस जाएगा, उस वक्त हम कहेंगे कि अब ये सोल्यूशन ले आते हैं। फिर कहेंगे कि कोल को हमें स्टैंडर्ड नहीं करना, हमारा तो 100 गीगावाट कोल या तो प्लांट हो गया है या लगने लग गया है या कोल माइन पैदा हो गई है, अब उसको कोल को यूज करना है। जबकि कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव पावर इसी से आ सकती है, और 12 करोड़ पर मेगावाट आजकल कोल का भी कॉस्ट आ गया है, सीएसपी भी 12 करोड़ पर मेगावाट में आ सकता है। वेंडर्स हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड 3 years बैक इन सीएसपी कॉन्फ्रेंस दैट इफ यू गिव अस 5 गीगावाट विजिबिलिटी कि हम 5 गीगावाट लगाना चाहते हैं तो इकोसिस्टम हम डेवलप कर लेंगे। 12 करोड़ पर मेगावाट विल बी द एवरेज कॉस्ट।
कुछ बोलो ना, पीएसपी तो अब हो रहा है।
सीएसपी सर मैंने बोला कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड सोलर पावर।
PSP, listen, PSP is 210 or 250 gigawatt potential that is established, and now we are hearing it for last 2 years or so. But PSP will take 5 years.
सर नहीं मैं
I am a big supporter of PSP, and
सर मैं उसको मना नहीं कर रहा, जो लगा रहे हो लगाते रहो।
that is the lasting solution for storage. But the issue is, today you are running against time. In 5 years you will be 500 gigawatt of solar, and then 500 in 5 years time you will get some capacity.
सर और एक और चीज बता दूं,
issue 1 minute. Issue today is that we are fighting against time in terms of the gestation period of transmission and gestation period of solar, which then calls for what Alok was saying. It should be calibrate. That means should we slow down? That is the issue. Should we slow down? When we talk this, should we slow down? Then people also are up against this. And we are trying to enhance the growth rate of solar.
स्लो डाउन नहीं करना चाहते हैं, डिमांड ग्रो कीजिए ना फिर।
हाँ, question is growing demand, doing manufacturing.
झा साहब ने सोल्यूशन बताया, कोल को सब्स्टिट्यूट करना है हमें
PSP
रिन्यूएबल
is a
से।
known alternative, and that is happening in a big way. You may be many rules they have changed, but local level. But quite apart from that, some transmission will be needed.
No sir, it will not be needed. खावड़ा में there is enough scope.
वार्षिक जी ध्यान दीजिए कि आप सब्स्टिट्यूट करेंगे, जो ₹2.5 का सोलर है उसका ट्रांसमिशन मिला के वो ब्लेंडेड कॉस्ट करीब उसकी 3.5 रुपये होगी। आप कोल का जो वेरिएबल कॉस्ट ₹1.5 पावर को बैकडाउन करवाएंगे, तो क्या वो एक अफोर्डेबिलिटी के लिए सही चीज है?
सर मैं कंपैरिजन दूसरा कह रहा हूँ, आप पहले ही महंगे को कंपैरिजन कर रहे हो।
उसकी कॉस्ट कौन बेयर करेगा?
सर मैं बता रहा हूँ,
मैं अभी थोड़ा ट्रांसमिशन के लिए बोल रहा था सर। सर मान लीजिए 6000 मेगावाट, ये मैं फिर से सेक्रेटरी पावर के साथ का एग्जांपल देता हूँ सर, और 22,000 करोड़ का स्कीम था ट्रांसमिशन का सर। हम 6000 मेगावाट लाने देते हैं, लेकिन कहते हैं 6,000 का सोलर लगाए हुए, तो वहीं पर आप 3,000 मेगावाट का बैटरी दो, 3 मेगावाट बैटरी दो वहीं पर, सेम ट्रांसमिशन कॉस्ट, और मैं ट्रांसमिशन कॉस्ट 2 ही बनाऊंगा 10,000 करोड़ का, जो 50% में ट्रांसमिशन बना उसकी बैटरी देता हूँ ना सर। और तो क्या होगा,
कॉस्ट क्या आएगी?
बैटरी का 4 करोड़
इन टर्म्स ऑफ पर यूनिट डिलीवर्ड कॉस्ट जो है,
सिर्फ नहीं पर मिनट बात ही नहीं कर सब। मैं अभी फिक्स चार्ज की बात की सर, मैं देखता हूँ बैटरी को एज ए ट्रांसमिशन में थोड़ा देखिए सर, जस्ट अभी तो बात ही हो रही है ना, अभी मैं अभी देखता हूँ सर, बैटरी इज माई लाइक ट्रांसमिशन। याद है CRC का पहला प्रपोजल था कि शुरू में बैटरी में लाऊं एज ए ट्रांसमिशन एलिमेंट, जैसे रिएक्टर ला रहे हैं, जैसे
किया था हम लोगों ने।
हाँ याद है सर। तो थोड़ा सा मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि यही लाइए, लेकिन सोल्यूशन इज इफ यू बैलेंस द हेयर जनरेशन पूलिंग स्टेशन के बाद, ये बहुत स्ट्रांगली आपका रिकमेंडेशन किया है सर, तो ये ट्रांसमिशन का बर्डन मेरा कम होगा। सर ट्रांसमिशन डिले क्या होता है सर, जो ही चार्ज देते मैं HPD से लाऊं ये लाऊं, उसका gestation पीरियड है 5 साल, nobody can save। अब जहाँ तक राइट ऑफ वे का इशू है सर, वो तो गवर्नमेंट का प्रोसेस। आप एक सर एक रूल अगर बन जाता पहले सर, कितना कंपनसेशन देना, 5 साल फिर रिवाइज नहीं होगा तो बनेगा। वो तो 2 हल्ला करता फिर एक रूल बनता, एक साल में 5 रूल बना, 5 कंपनसेशन का। अब तो ऐसा ट्रांसमिशन कॉस्ट कंपनसेशन इक्वल। सब पॉलिटिकल लीडर बोल रहे हैं सर, सबसे ज़्यादा हरियाणा, सबसे ज़्यादा डिले हो जाए, तो वो तो कंपनसेशन इंड नहीं है, वो तो गवर्नमेंट का स्ट्रॉन्ग आएगा कि नहीं अब रिवाइज कर दिया, पर ट्रांसमिशन कंपनी भी वो प्राइस ले लेगी, कर देगी। लेकिन मैं ये कह रहा हूँ सर, मैं तो ये कह रहा हूँ ओवरऑल डिस्काउंट की बात कर रहा हूँ, पहले बनाना का अभी तो जो है सर CRC डिले एक्सेट्रा दैट हैज टू बी एड्रेस्ड। नो only thing is how to optimize the transmission, how to reduce the burden on the transmission, ये है सर। अदरवाइज ट्रांसमिशन तो 4-4 रुपये ट्रांसमिशन हो जाए।
छोटा पॉइंट ये है, आप अगर पैरेलली नया कोल ऐड कर देंगे तो फिक्स कॉस्ट तो आपकी बहुत बढ़ जाएगी, बिकॉज आप पैरेलली 100 गीगावाट कोल भी ऐड कर रहे हैं।
कहाँ कर, वो तो वही गलत, मैं तो वही पैसा दे रहा हूँ।
ऐसा देखिए, आप 100 गीगावाट कोल एंड 500-800 गीगावाट सोलर का साथ में ऐड करोगे तो देन यू विल एंड अप।
सर अभी यही हो रहा है, वही तो बोल रहे हैं कि
ये तो मैं कमेंट दिया था सर। ये तो मैं
there is a factor there where you see this again now known what you are saying,
everything is not
that in concentrated locations where we are going to have large amount of solar capacity, batteries started happening. So it's happening. Now the issue is, problem with batteries, one is life, 15 years, and second is battery is 100% imported.
Sir, and it is not a source.
One.
It is not a
So,
source.
Nobody is criticizing, it is happening. The suggestion which Mr. Jha is making is already in action. And in a way, I think some of the advertisements of SECI today is with backup. That means if they are asking for 400 or 500 megawatt of solar power, they are also asking backup, the storage. So one flaw I am seeing in the whole process of planning, the point that Mr. Jha is making, when this situation has confronted us in a significant way, that time we are finding the solutions have started. Should they have started 2 years back? That is the point. Should they have started when the transmission planning was being done, all the suggestions that is being made, that this type of transmission planning of huge HVDC to take power from Khavda, to bring it to Agra or somewhere in north or somewhere, some other place, Mirzapur or somewhere, and to take to, somebody is ridiculing this, bring power from Khavda to Mirzapur and take back to Jaipur. Somebody was ridiculing this. The question is, the point that is emerging now is in action already. But the problem with that solution is that to start with, it's okay, unless we indigenize this in a significant way and at fast speed. India is heavily burdened on import. Our balance of trade with almost every country is very adverse. 120 billion tons of trade with China, 100 billion is import, and only $20 billion is export to China. And that I have the whole list. That means you are on, some of us, many of us only think in terms of if we are favorite of renewable or renewable is favorite to us, we think only renewable. If we are favorite to coal, we are only thinking coal. Question is, this also has an implication of import.
बट सर अगर बैटरी में इंपोर्ट करने में राइटली उसको रिलेक्टेंट रहते हैं, सोलर लगाते चले जाएंगे 50 गीगावाट का, curtailments are unavoidable.
So you have to
prepared for that.
correct. You have to take a mid course. That, like the point you made, I also made, that certain amount of curtailment
Are unavoidable.
unavoidable. No, you see my article. I have said what is so big about this and why so hue and cry. I said hue and cry.
सर कोल को जब
That
बैक डाउन करते हैं वो curtailment है.
coal we were backing down.
उसको that
So let it back down. Let the investors factor in the commercial decision of tariff and power purchase agreement rather than expecting. In fact, we have unnecessarily encouraged these developers.
Promise and plan.
Yeah.
ऐसा promise किया कि आप कहीं भी लगाइए हम लाइन बनाएंगे.
So one conclusion is very clear that certain degree of curtailment, so long as it is in the range of 20%, 15%. If somebody has given an adventurous tariff of 2 rupees 40 paise, I have raised that concern. Why the risk factor of curtailment was not factored in? When curtailment is a matter, is a routine affair in the power sector. Everybody curtails. Gas people curtail, coal people curtail, everybody curtails. And that's why we are raising the issue against, we raised issue hue and cry on first to bring nuclear into the table. And now we will bring the issue of why 100% nuclear. Nothing like it. Technology should be right now chosen in a manner that we are not confronted with a technology that I have to take 100%.
So basically, if you tell them in advance that this will be like a band of curtailment 5%,
Yeah, exactly.
they'll set up their battery and factor into the cost in their project.
Sir,
that is the only
sir,
solution.
Any more comment?
Yeah.
नहीं आप Subramaniam. नहीं Subramaniam. Renewable. Many of you may not know. He was my contemporary in the renewable ministry as secretary. Subramaniam. Huh?
I know him very well.
नहीं many people. माइक नहीं चलता आपका.
You see, one of the things that you said just now is in coal we have backed down. I mean, we have backed down in the past.
Yes.
I mean, why we backed down is a different question. And we incurred losses. And that was taken by the investors. I mean, those days, of course, SCPs or NTPCs. So when the solar developers invest, let them be prepared for some backdown. I mean, they should absorb the cost in that thing. The second thing I wanted to ask is how many hours of battery storage are we looking at? I mean, it's 4 hours, 8 hours, it's only for peak hours. And battery cost becomes a huge issue. And how many hours should we really ask the generators to plan for? The other thing is Mr. Vashni made out again. I mean, let us not confuse it. For solar PV power that is generated during the day, it runs the risk of curtailment. Okay, we agreed. But at the same time, the same person can set up a CSP plant to continue to supply power in the evenings. As to why we cannot even look at CSP. CERC has noted given generic tariff for all renewable energy technologies. They didn't even look at solar, concentrated solar power. I don't know why they did not look at, or nobody went to the commission requesting for a generic tariff. I don't understand. The other thing is, we talk about transmission constraint. What is the cost of storage vis-a-vis the cost of lost transmission? I mean, that also we should look at. And how much is the underutilization of transmission that has been constructed so far only to evacuate renewable energy? We don't anything is planned on 100% utilization. Even coal thermal power plants worked at plant load factor of 70%, 80%. But the initial calculation we said we will do it at 80%. Transmission companies also will do it. But the transmission utilization is only 20, 30% because solar and wind are not continuous supply of power. How much of losses do they incur? I mean, this is something we have to look at. And the other thing which came in this, time of the day tariff and smart metering. And smart metering I find from the media, not that I have participated in seminars, it has become a big political issue. I mean, recently I saw UP government has banned smart meters, they have discontinued the policy. What is the advantage? Have we really talked to the consumers as to what's the advantage of having smart meters? Only when you have smart meters you can talk about TOD, tariff. And time of the day tariff, again you make it less during the solar generation hours. I mean, it can be done. And one more thing I still haven't understood. Why haven't we really looked at incentives for storage at consumer ends? Today, if you look at, all of us have inverters in our houses connected to a battery. We charge it through the main line. When there's a load shedding, immediately battery comes into operation. And the battery has to be replaced every 5-6 years. I don't know how long these batteries will start, which are the generation points, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, and what is the cost of replacement of battery after its life is over? Will they build that into the tariff? After all, they are giving a tariff for 25 years. If they have to replace the battery, they have to build that thing. I mean, all these are issues which keep coming up. There's just one point I want to say. The SECI tenders. I think it's high time they had a tender holiday. I mean, let them stop issuing tenders without any relevance of demand, any scope of transmission. They go on and, I mean, as like he said, 500 gigawatts came from the top. The SECI tenders are also coming from the top. You announce for 4,000, 5,000 megawatts. And there are no PSCs. The discounts are not willing to take it.
Good.
I mean, let the tender, like plan holiday, I have a tender holiday. Ask them to keep quiet.
Okay.
I mean, that's all I want to say.
Varsna, you wanted to say something? Yes. Mic करो.
वो 16 आवर्स जो लगा रहा है वो बियॉन्ड दी सोलर आवर, मतलब स्टोरेज मिरर्स उतना ही लगा रहा है कि 16 घंटे की स्टोरेज कर रहा है, सेम ट्रांसमिशन को यूज कर रहा है। तो उससे क्या है, मेरा एक तो रिन्यूएबल का कंपोनेंट बढ़ रहा है, प्लस मेरा रोटेटिंग इनर्शिया आ रहा है, प्लस मेरा शॉर्ट सर्किट रेशियो बढ़ रहा है, और फ्रीक्वेंसी और इसका सबका बेटर हो रहा है। इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ दैट सोलर एंड विंड is happening in a smoother manner.
No, but one point we are missing, in Sukarji, you are also missing that point, that, and that is happening in a way, that you are putting battery energy storage system in large concentrated solar area. So Jaisalmer or Khavda. But that does not take away the requirement of doing the transmission line. Maybe the capacity of transmission line will reduce. But the issue is, even that transmission capacity is not happening in time frame.
It is happening.
The one point, no, it's not happening. One point, no, it is because of right of way issue, because of many. So instead of 5,000 megawatt, we will do 2,500 or 3,000 megawatt. The issue is whether it is 5,000 megawatt capacity or 6,000 megawatt capacity or 3,000 megawatt capacity, that can be worked out. But today, I mean, I don't know why you are not aware. Right of way issue, land issue, dispute issues, forest issues. So whether I do 6,000 megawatt HVDC or I do 3,000 megawatt HVDC, if there are 100 or 200 locations in forest, they are going to be there. I have seen transmission systems of 10,000 crore waiting for getting completed for only 50, 60 towers.
जैसे खबड़ा के 2 लाइन बन गया।
हाँ, नहीं तो वो तो एक स्पेसिफिक केस है।
नंबर सर
So transmission planning and transmission execution, and this is not to blame transmission people. The system, the point is that this has to be resolved.
सर वही कहना चाह रहे हैं कि 2 लाइन बन गया है,
हाँ,
उसी को 15% की जगह 85% यूटिलाइज कर लो।
no, ठीक है।
सर वही पॉइंट है, उसी को 15% की जगह 85% यूटिलाइज कर लो बिना बैटरी के।
Even that will better
You have to add the new.
Yeah.
आप कह रहे हैं नई लाइन का ROW का प्रॉब्लम।
और
Problem
चीपेस्ट
तो रहेगी।
स्टोरेज जो है ना लॉन्ग टर्म की, वो बैटरी नहीं है, वो थर्मल स्टोरेज ही है।
No. What I say is that your transmission capacity, for the capacity that you are developing for solar, we might reduce because of this CSP or because of the BESS, battery energy
सिर्फ
storage.
रिड्यूस नहीं करना, वही मैं बोल रहा हूँ। जो अभी लगी हुई है खावड़ा में, वो दिन में
अरे अभी की
15%
बात में
यूज हो
करो,
रही है।
खावड़ा is going to be 30,000 megawatt. खावड़ा is going to be
सर
30,000
आएगा,
megawatt.
मैं वही कह रहा हूँ, वो दिन के टाइम ही आएगा ना।
तो फिर और CSP लगाएंगे ना।
You're not getting the point.
सर जो CSP लगेगा वो, एक मिनट में, CSP जो लगेगा वो 8 से 8 बजे के भी बाद चलेगा रात के लिए।
वो तो दिन में भी एडिशनल आएगा तो एडिशनल लाइन तो चाहिए।
सर दिन में क्यों चलाएंगे उसको, दिन में नहीं चलाएंगे।
10,000 मेगावाट
आप लोग कह रहे हैं कि बैटरी की बजाय CSP लगा।
हाँ, वो थर्मल स्टोरेज से चलाएंगे उसको।
तो लाइन तो बनानी पड़ेगी।
सर बनाएंगे तो उसको भी पूरा यूज करेंगे ना।
इसके बाद इसके और आगे आएगा।
सर उसको भी पूरा यूज करने के लिए बेटर करना पड़ेगा ना।
वो यूज हो गया।
हाँ, उसके बाद भी जो सोलर लगेगा उसको इवैक्यूएशन के लिए जो लगाएंगे।
The two issues are remaining. Whatever suggestions both of you are making, battery energy storage is happening. Is now
सर वो उसको रोक नहीं रहे हैं, वो होता रहेगा।
happening.
हाँ,
Transmission system of certain capacity will still be required.
yes.
The issue now is demand. like what Alok made the point, that if the demand, today we are putting the blame, I am not putting the blame entirely on transmission. Today we are putting the blame on the transmission inadequacy to evacuate the entire power. But beyond a point, suppose now we are 150 gigawatt in the country on solar. In 5 years' time, we might be 500 gigawatt. That is a plan. When it reaches 300, 400, 500 gigawatt, then at that time it is not the transmission which will be a constraint. It is at that time it is the demand itself will be constrained.
सर उसका क्या
So somehow the discussion is shifting toward transmission because at this stage that has been identified because some of the transmission lines are delayed. But I think we are not doing much on the demand side.
Net zero
That
knowledge
means
only.
it is there where shifting consumption. Transport should shift from petrol, diesel to electricity in a bigger way. Cooking should shift from petroleum, which we are importing, in a bigger way.
Industrial process.
Industry should expand in my articles I have brought that out, that large industry should come. So very soon what you are seeing today in a minute way for a particular location or a couple of locations as only transmission problem is going to be a bigger problem of absorbing the power that we are trying to target in the next 5 to 10 years. On that, less work is being done as compared to, then transmission will appear to be a smaller problem, a smaller challenge than that challenge. Because that challenge is not something which will just by blaming transmission. That challenge is something which is across the board, across industry. EV in a bigger way, transport on.
Don't increase demand, the battery storage cost will go up.
Exactly.
सर अभी प्लान्ड और सारी भी कैपेसिटी है 100 गीगावाट न्यूक्लियर है 100 गीगावाट कोल है बहुत सारा और प्लान्ड है जो कि और कॉस्ट बढ़ाएगा ही
डिमांड तो चाहिए
अभी उसकी बात नहीं कर रहे हम कह रहे हैं रिन्यूएबल को बढ़ाओ अगर रिन्यूएबल आपने 25%
को बढ़ाना है इन कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव मैनर
सर इन अ कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव मैनर ही बोल रहा हूँ लेकिन ये नहीं कि साथ में दूसरे और जो कॉस्टली चीजें हैं उनको भी बढ़ा दो वो नहीं बढ़ा के
प्रॉब्लम
क्योंकि सिस्टम कॉस्ट देखनी सर सिस्टम कॉस्ट देखनी है नॉट इंडिविजुअल कॉस्ट
नहीं सर इसमें दो चीज़ हैं इवन इफ they say everybody is saying transmission is the bottleneck. For a minute assume that even if the transmission is there, last 2 years aggregate macro consumption at all India level is hovering between 17 and 1850 1800 billion units. So even if the transmission system is there, where will you take that power and what will you do with it?
Demand is also an issue which needs to be storage is issue, demand creation is an issue. Shifting the demand is
शिफ्टिंग की अगर आप
shifting the consumption is
also substituting beyond a point substituting thermal with solar as a huge cost.
सर लेकिन और लगा के फिर सब्स्टिट्यूट करना पड़ेगा तब क्या करेंगे ये सोचने वाली बात है आज तो अभी 70 गीगावाट लगा नहीं है प्लान में है अभी उस पर कमिट नहीं हुआ है
उसमें से 20 मेगावाट के टेंडर होते हैं
सर टेंडर होना लगना फर्क है सर अवार्ड होने के बाद भी
वो हम लोग that point we are for the present postponing because Ministry of Power, Central City Authority, government as a whole, in our anxiety and in our enthusiasm for renewable, he was very much in the field. They did slow down on coal, only to realize that perhaps we may not have slowed in that manner, and then they again put it back on the thing.
So now we are realizing demand predictions were also on higher side.
The demand
is not materializing in billion units और peaking भी आती है ना वो 3 दिन आती है
सर उसके लिए ही लगाए जा रहे हैं नया चीज नया उसी के लिए लगा रहे हैं उसी 10 घंटे जो साल में चलेगा उसके लिए
इंडस्ट्री डिपार्टमेंट को
जबकि थर्मल स्टोरेज शिफ्ट कर देता उस 10 घंटे में आराम से दे देगा फ्री में कोई और नया नहीं लगाना आपको कुछ
You see, you have to balance. As I said that I have supported battery energy storage, but all these should be accompanied with the promise that within certain time frame indigenization is done. You see, we all talk only of this, but trade balance and export-import thing, if we forget, then we will be in trouble.
Sir, CSP में
Same thing. No. I tell you, we have been in energy for much longer period. Our entry into energy system was Petroleum is the fuel of, gas is the fuel of 21st century. Gas is the fuel of 21st century. Coal must be forgotten. That is my entry into the energy sector. Gas. That was the thing. In 80s, that was the thing. People like you who were less informed about, or solar was not there, nowhere to be seen except for on road crossings. That time, gas should be replacing all the things. We went whole hog on the gas. And the gas station, 25,000 megawatt, 2/3 of them capacities are idle. It's 2/3 idle. So, in our anxiety to change from coal to gas and from coal and gas to this, all are supportive of this renewable form. But you cannot forget, we have taken a position, you cannot forget something like 270 or 370 billion tons of reserve, 270 billion tons of coal reserve, which is the only resource, energy resource that you have. Only energy resource.
सर सन का रिसोर्स तो हमारे पास उससे भी कई गुना ज्यादा है.
Which came out in this recent summit is that the old PPAs which were signed with higher rate of power, 15 rupees or 18 rupees, 19 rupees, even more, people are not interested in buying their power now because the cost has come down. So what is the solution to that is not seen. One idea came to my mind that like the thermal power, can we have a deemed fixed charges of the solar power and then and a variable charge, so that once the PPA is signed, at least pay them the fixed charge, so that something is recovered rather than total waste investment.
60% तो फिक्स कॉस्ट है.
उसका सोल्यूशन तो मेरा है पीपीए को जब किया तो उसको ऑनर करो, आगे अपना दिखाओ.
वो ऑनर होता ही नहीं.
पीपीए करने के बाद अगर उससे आप तो
Look at Andhra Pradesh, they dishonored so many
but
PPAs.
ultimately Apple prevailed. They had to bite the dust again honor that. And I think investment अगर आपको सब foreign investment चाहिए, on net तो I think they should be honored once you find them. Take the mic, sir.
Total package of 15 रुपये बहुत कम है.
Mic.
What I'm saying, in the total package of discount, वो लोग हल्ला करते हैं सर. This is very small. तो उनका cost of purchase cost of this is not getting affected by these 2-3 PPA. बहुत कम है. तो इसलिए नया लोग लेके only the thing is कि if they don't need it, still they have to take it. That is the major issue.
No, on your suggestion, that's a good suggestion, but what can be suggested to the developers? That it is better you take this as a reality, that certain amount of curtailment will be there. Not 1 minute. So therefore, in their price offer that they give, they should factor that in. Suppose, I tell you, in many of my papers also I have written that when it came down to 240, I was not very happy. Came down from, our entry into solar sector in India is 14 rupees in around 2015. 14 rupees. From 14 rupees per kilowatt hour coming down, 240. When it came to 240, because I have made this point, many private sector people will be here, but I have made this point is that private sector people, to get entry, they commit suicide when they bid. Commit suicide. I mean, he should not get, I should get. I will aggressively quote. Later on only to realize that they have made a mess of the whole thing. The question is, in every investment decision, we should be able to predict. Should be able to predict the risk factors. Not only predict, at least see the risk factor, evaluate the risk factors.
No, but excuse me, why consumption should come down? I couldn't understand why electricity consumption comes down. And if it comes down, decrease the gas consumption, import. I mean, these are the things government has to look into this. Oh, what for government is there? My dear, what we are talking, sorry, I don't know whether everybody is listening or not. What we are talking today is commerce only. Things are changing horribly internationally. You do not know, you don't have safety. The other day, people were crying for gas. And the next day, we saw that gas is in plenty. And again, we are seeing that gas is going to be available. Today, one ship has sunk in the Strait of Hormuz. So, it is not commerce only for solar. Solar must be there enough for your security and safety. And then think of the technology, engineering, how to balance your commerce with this. Why electricity consumption should come down? If it comes down, bring down the import of gas. I mean, in a way, up to you people. Thank you.
You're saying come down in respect of expansion that is taking place. See, you were in solar, you were at some point, not even 50,000 megawatt. In a period of 5 years, in solar we have come to 150,000 megawatt. Our target is that we should come to 500,000 megawatt. The consumption would not come down, consumption is increasing, there is no doubt about it. But with reference to the rate of growth of solar, that is the point we are saying.
No, I was not talking about solar only. He was telling that the entire generation demand has come down.
Consumption should increase more.
And for solar, my dear, it is for your security. It is for reduction on import of gases and crude, everything. It is for your security. So, if you are placing the recommendation to government, you have to consider all these factors. The other side is carbon trading, the other side is pollution control. There are a lot many things are there. We are talking of curtailment of solar. Fantastic. With due respect, I was just listening all this. Nobody knows me here. But I am just looking at it as a common man. What is this?
The contribution of gas or crude in power generation is very minuscule. So this is change of technology. Even if you don't curtail solar, the crude will be required for vehicles. Gas will be required for other purposes because gas is minuscule in power sector.
With due respect, sir, I can reply to this. Now, see, the other day we were never looking the cooking based on electricity. Now today, when this crisis came about the gas, everybody started purchasing the induction cooker. Cooker price came up from 3,000 to 7,000. What is this? Increase these things. You have to see the reality of India, and at the same time, security.
You are saying the same thing what I am saying. If you want to absorb more solar, you have to electrify your energy usage. You are saying the same thing.
Do that.
You are mentioning about gas.
Decrease import of gas.
No. The macro picture of gas is that India today imports 50% of what it consumes. And in petroleum sector, crude, it imports 88.4%. So one of the weakest link of India's energy management is petroleum and gas. So question is, not because we are power people, we are energy people. So we have to see energy, coal, gas, petroleum, solar, and then power. Power is only a derived energy. So this is a sad picture about petroleum sector, that we have been only increasing the proportion of import year after year, because our domestic gas production is going down. Practically it is plateau or going down. Gas fields, when everything is extracted, so depletion takes place, new discoveries are not there to commensurate level. So, you see, the whole economy, management of whole economy today, in terms of billions of dollars or trillions of dollars, is getting affected in what is happening in the petroleum and gas sector. So, concern there is that despite that, if it becomes inevitable, then some of our gas-based power plants are run. At one time, ministry made a very concessional tariff. You made that concessional tariff of 12 rupees or something, 11 rupees, something like that. That when we were confronted with load shedding only a few years back, at certain point of time, then a concessional and a higher rate, and even in our energy exchange, power exchange, a higher rate system is there, that is certain, but is still there. So, gas scenario on macro level is a bit disturbing for us. Gas is more benign than coal, no doubt about it. But there are so many benign things. So the question is, India is confronted also with balance of trade overall balance of trade, very adversely. And today, in India Energy Forum, one of the disturbing things that we have been always struggling is how to manage petroleum sector. So there the issue was different, Mr. Rai. The issue was, what are the consumptions which are based on petroleum and gas, which can shift to power? From cooking gas to power.
And the other side, we are telling that we are not getting demand for power.
Yeah.
I mean, these are
Yeah,
contradictions.
in
Demand growth is not that much.
demand growth is not there. So therefore, when you are talking of electricity, then you need to increase the demand. And one of the ways to increase the demand, which serves the purpose of this balancing our import challenge, is also, I mentioned to you sometime, I think, railways. Railways, we were only 20% on electricity, and now we are almost 90. And I was in that advisory thing. I chaired that advisory thing, which suggested that entire routes would be electrified. And now we are close to 95, 98%. So petrol, that diesel. In fact, diesel plant in Bihar was to be set up in Munger, and that was stopped. Foundation was done, that was stopped. Diesel locomotive plant. So I think slowly, and that has started happening. So EV is one thing. The rate of EV entry into our system is becoming more. So I think replacement of petroleum fuels with electricity.
Not only petroleum only, gentlemen, even coal,
Yeah.
that reserve should be preserved.
Yes.
That is your national asset.
Yeah.
America is not
सर
using
ईवी
its
एंट्री
own.
का भी फायदा तभी है जब क्लीन इलेक्ट्रिसिटी होगी. अगर 75% कोल में
discussion
जाएगी
is
तो फायदा नहीं है.
उसका बाद में अलग से करेंगे आपसे.
हाँ.
ऐसा नहीं है. वो that argument is not.
नहीं, coal तो देखिए, with all that, coal growth, coal plant capacity growth was stopped 10 years back. 10 years back it was stopped when solar was introduced in the planning level. But a correction has been made, again about 80,000 megawatt, 80,000 or something megawatt of coal is being set up. Because what is recognized today among the energy constituents, coal is the only one where you have huge reserve in India. Of course, solar is there, solar is everywhere. Apart from solar, coal is the only reserve. Rest all are, but then now you see the discussion today. I also whole hog on solar, but see the discussion today.
But
To
the
support
solar is
somebody is saying, Secretary Power said in one of the conference, I think you attended that conference. He was counting figure, 6 crore a megawatt for this, 4 crore a megawatt for this. Suddenly he came to the
Sir,
big
even
figure.
solar has lot of imports.
To support
All your solar
solar,
cells are imported.
We have to put
Now,
this, we have to
wafers are
put this,
imported.
we have to put this. But still we are not, nobody is critical of solar. The point that is being made is that solar, I made that point, that I have written also that the economics of solar as such is quite compelling. But to support solar, there are many things to be done. And it is not all belonging to that problem to them only. We have to plan. If we are delayed on something, then we need to be faster. So I think some of the conclusions which are quite clear now, that growth of solar, because of these commercial problems, technical problems, transmission problems, demand problems, and PPA problems, will automatically settle somewhere. I don't think that DISCOMs, that is, he is supervising DISCOMs now as an independent body. DISCOMs are going to do PPA blindly. This is pakka. And I don't see electricity market developing to an extent that we are getting rid of this PPA arrangement where DISCOMs are the major players. We are not getting. I am also a follower of that policy that the sooner we get out of that, better it is. But when my colleague has been there now, I am a little less critical of that. That DISCOM is also a weak link in the overall supply system. But in practice, whatever we want, some of us, market to develop, electricity market to develop in a different way, at a different pace. But reality is that we are not going to get rid of DISCOM. Another reality is we are not going to get rid of DISCOMs predominantly under state government control, predominantly. These are realities. Those realities we don't like to continue perpetually, but that is what will happen. So DISCOMs will be there. Then we are not going to get rid of, despite we want any other market structure of electricity, of power purchase agreement. That will remain. What percentage it will be power purchase agreement, what percentage it will be short-term trading, what percent will be it is exchange trading is different. But predominantly it will be a power purchase agreement oriented market structure in which most dominant player for next 10, 15, 20 years will continue to be state controlled distribution companies. Though we will very much like in this period some privatization should happen, but will be at slow pace. It is that reality we must recognize, and it is that reality which will somewhere moderate what you said. Because PPA nahi hai, to banks will not give money and projects will not happen. So it is that reality which will moderate the growth of growth. It is not a stop. Moderate the growth of solar capacity addition. Proactively, this growth can be reinforced only when, and I have recommended strongly, that at state government level and central government level, massive efforts and very different type of revolutionary changes they will have to make to have massive manufacturing, so that our dependence on import. I have done more of a study now on import-export in India than on electricity really. We are stuck up everywhere. Almost everything we import. Most. One of the weakest country in the world on our side. So, therefore, if the government gets into that mode, and like in defense it is happening, like in other sectors it will happen, then you will see some growth of power in a different way. So that is that. Another conclusion definitely is that transmission will continue to play a role. Its extent can reduce. We can do battery energy storage. Battery energy storage, our recommendation as well as everybody's recommendation should be that battery energy storage during this period will be inevitable, so that it also reduces the requirement of the amount of transmission, and also the subject that we are curtailment. It has that advantage. But recognizing the fact that battery energy storage system today is 100% import, including the dabba. So therefore, there should be compulsion on the part of these developers, solar developers, that the large solar developers, should definitely have now battery energy storage in the interim solution, and should have manufacturing either on their own or some domestic manufacturing, so that slowly and slowly this imported component is at least reduced. Demand increase is one of the factors that we have definitely discussed. I think nobody is saying that you will finally say that solar will grow. Whether 500 gigawatt is happening in 2030 or it will happen in 2032, 33, that is a different matter. But it will happen, and it should happen. So we are not giving a go by Discom people also should support. He will
Solar will grow, sir.
This will grow. Solar will grow.
Only thing is we have to prepare for its growth. That's the one
Yeah.
liner I'll say.
We should prepare for it. Good thing is that though late, एक तो वो भी problem है. All of us are guilty of recognizing the problem when it is there. Not recognizing the problem when it is 2, 3 years, 4 years ahead, if not more.
But sir,
वो एक system.
I don't want to reopen it. बात करेंगे.
खबरा पार्क था सिमिलरली आप देखिए सभी बनाते हैं हाइब्रिड विंड सोलर और जब सेकी का आता है खाली सोलर क्यों आता है सॉरी सी प्रॉब्लम इज इफ यू क्लियर द प्रॉब्लम बैलेंस डेवलपमेंट इज नेसेसरी छोड़िए बैटरी जो है वो तो करिए सर सी टुडे एनी पार्क ऑफ द प्राइवेट हु हैज नॉट कम थ्रू दिस सेकी हु हैज कम विदाउट हाइब्रिड in Khavda itself, Adani, I have approved all the, see 50% wind, 50% solar. They have planned. Adit Birla has planned for their Hindustan, this Aluminium Limited. For that they have done. Tata has planned 50-50. Only the thing, here we are leaving it only solar. Solar should come. But wind को भी लाइए जो हम प्लान किए तो उसको भी लाना है.
The one thing, I think to support the growth of solar, for the purpose of grid stability, some amount of thermal is inevitable. In spite of all, so they are telling that no thermal. That is not possible.
Suggestion is the point that toward the end we were saying that let us also proactively see many things that have come here on this discussion. Those things are also may not be at full pitch, but at some pitch they are there. The battery energy storage is happening. CSP is also being thought. Hydrogen is also happening. That is also happening. Transmission is also happening. Let us see 3, 4, 5 years down the line. Is there any new thing that we are suggesting? That's the point. And for that you don't have to go far away. And now I have seen whatever starts happening here would have started in China maybe 5 years earlier. So that means a shortcut to that will be like AI is a shortcut now. A shortcut to that is definitely that we should really try to study China of the past and China of the present more closely. Unfortunately, we were very keen in studying USA, Europe and all that, but that will help. How did they when I was writing this article, I posed a question. How did China manage this gap between transmission gestation and solar gestation? And answer is that China went ahead, planned in advance. Their period of thinking and period of starting of construction, they have limited the time to all regulatory authority, ministry authority, everybody. Within this time it should happen. So that's where I was saying that some of the things which are controllable, some of the things are beyond our control. And I have myself done the study and highlighted to the ministry and to regulatory commission that about 2 years of time is wasted from planning to starting of construction. Wasted for the transmission. Okay, so that's all. Thank you. We have I think high tea or low tea? High tea.
High tea at lower floor. At lower floor.
High tea but at lower level.
At lower level.
After such an interesting debate, it has to be high tea also.
Tea लेके जाओ.
Vote of thanks.
Very good.
No, thank you बोला
ही. We have our secretary. Please sit down. Few words of thanks.
It's been very interesting and absorbing debate on a topic which has assumed great significance because of the curtailment of renewable energy sources, power generation. And 2-3 things which have come out very clearly is that the demand has to grow and the per capita consumption, which probably today is about 1500, it is planned to be 4000. Lot of efforts will have to be made for electrification of the use, especially in the industry and domestic sectors. In transportation, these are being already done. So unless the demand grows, this problem will remain. Another problem, another issue which came up was that the PPA may have to be recalibrated to take care of the curtailment of, though it will increase the cost of power supply. Then the planners also may have to recalibrate the capacity addition with the evacuation, especially with the transmission lines and all that. I wish this has been a topic on curtailment of solar power. I wish more people had joined. The participation should not have been curtailed, and more knowledge would have come. I suggest that we must approach the recommendation and discussion which have taken place today. We should approach the appropriate authorities that these will have to be handled like in the market coupling we have done in power generation also. So unless we propagate these and unless we communicate these to the decision makers, these will not be very productive debates. So I suggest that IEF should do that. So now I would request all of you to join at the ground floor level for a session of tea with some snacks. And please keep on joining these debates in future also. Every month we plan to have one debate on a hot topic.
Yeah, just now I was talking